welcome back to Survivor 50 Seasons in 50 Days. Today was day today was day 12. I just finished watching Survivor Panama, where ours beats Danielle I would say, of the first 12 seasons, it's definitely one of those where you don't actually know who's going to win. And I feel like they're the two least cartoony of the Kasaya tribe. We're going to talk all about them a little later. But today I am joined by G Worthy of Inside Survivor, back from the Marquesas pod last week. Gia, how are you?
I am doing fantastic, at least as fantastic as I can be, coming off of Suri not winning Survivor 50, but winning fan favorite. So I'll take what I can get. As I said before we started recording, I still have a little bit left in the tank for Survivor talk, specifically about Suri. So this came in at the perfect time.
Yes, and we'll talk all about her. And then also one of my co-hosts for the Survivor 50 recaps, we have Jake. Jake, what made you want to do Panama?
Before 50 came out, my wife and I said we wanted to rewatch as many seasons as possible. And I mean, when you hear Suri Fields is going to be on Survivor 50, you have to rewatch Panama. You have to rewatch Fans' Favorites. So we watched Panama, and I said, this is just such a good season. So I had to come on.
Yeah, and I do kind of quickly want to break the wall for a second. When I made this schedule and I saw that Panama was going to be the day after the 50 finale, it was still at the point where I was convinced that Suri was going to win. And so I planned on spending this entire day watching her first loss while still celebrating the fact that she had won the night before. So the fact that that didn't end up happening definitely broke my heart, and especially with how she goes out in the season, one of two times she loses in fire, it really hurts. But we're going to get to all the Suri stuff later. Starting from the beginning, have either one of you seen the David Ayer Suicide Squad movie that came out like 2015, 2016?
I have not.
Okay, so it's a horrible movie, but the beginning starts with like them showing all of the members of the Suicide Squad, like they all have their own little segments. And that's kind of how I watched Panama this time, because the main characters of this season are the Kasaya tribe and Terry Deeds. And so every member of the Kasaya tribe that we get, the second version, I guess, are all shown pretty cartoony in this first episode. We have the captain of sports, Danielle, losing the first challenge. We have Aris doing his whole Aris thing. We have Shane going through withdrawal after 3 packs a day for 25 years. We've got, I think Bob Dog's the most normal of them all in the first episode. We still have Courtney being a poser. And they split us up into 4 different tribes: old, young, based off of the ages. I'm 35 now, so I would be the second youngest on the men's tribe and second youngest on the old women's tribe. How did y'all think about how these tribes are kind of split up here?
Well, as a 31-year-old woman, I am 1 year off from officially being on the old women tribe. So I definitely feel a little slighted now. Maybe not as much when I first watched it when it originally aired. However, I am I love the concept of it being like, and they do this before, like we've had the gender war seasons, like men versus women, and in different iterations. We have one more in the future as well. And then I'm trying to think what the other and then we've had old versus young in Nicaragua, millennials versus Gen X. I feel like there is something to that twist. I just don't think it has necessarily been executed the best in either time that we've really seen it. I know some people are really big on millennials versus Gen X. I am not one of them. No offense to those that are. and no shade to Adam Klein. However, I would say that like I like when Survivor would try some like gimmicky things with the location or with the theme, with the like some of the challenges, and instead of kind of what we get now with the overloaded list. So it's kind of refreshing to go into a game and be like, hey, by the way, like we're trying something different here, and there's only 16 people here, so. While I would say that for this iteration, like 4 tribes of 4, clearly not going to be long term. However, I think 16 is kind of the perfect amount to try to make sure everybody gets some camera time. Doesn't necessarily happen this season, but I think 16 is a good number of contestants.
Jake, is there a way that we can have a decent old versus young season, because that's kind of wiped off the table after episode 1 here. But when you first watch Panama, it's like, okay, this is intriguing. Like, yes, the older women lose the first time, but it's like, okay, they could bounce back, but they get rid of it too early. And then we get Nicaragua, where we have the Medallion of Power, but the younger folks still win. I think the entire final 3 are younger folks. Millennial versus Gen X, the youngest man from the Gen X tribe makes it to the end. Do you think there is a way that we can do this theme where it's not a steamroll? Or it's not the kibosh isn't put on it after episode 1 like we do here?
Yeah, I do. I do. I mean, I think that 4 tribes is just, it's just not going to work. Like with this little people, I mean, like 4 people on a starting tribe is just like, I mean, we're already complaining, these days about 6 people being nowhere to hide. 4 people, I mean, wow. But unless you're Suri, then you'll find a way to get out of it.
Yeah.
But my little conspiracy theory is that they scrap it after episode 1 because the older women vote out their strongest member, and they're like, oh, this could get bad. Because as much as we all love Suri, she's not very strong in the challenges, and neither were the other 2 people on the older women tribe. So that's my little conspiracy theory. They were like, "Oh, this could get really bad. Let's
end this now." Well, yeah, go ahead.
I just want to point out something that I found fascinating is that Suri has her iconic confessional in episode 1 where she's like, "I'm on the wrong tribe. Like, I'm not old. Which is funny because Melinda is even younger than Suri.
She's younger than her. I'm pretty sure she's like 31, right?
She's 32. And Courtney on the younger women tribe is 31. There's only 1 year difference between them.
Bob Dog is the same age as Melinda and on the younger guys' tribe. Do with that information what you will.
It's were you guys really scrapped for casting choices that you couldn't find some people a bit younger to make it really actually make sense?
Or save this theme for when you do have a cast that more fits this category, instead of, hey, we're gonna put 2 of the younger women on in this cast on the older women tribe.
What the best Battle of the Ages season we've ever had is Borneo. Let's be real. That is as close as we are going to get to a old versus young, older versus younger in there, different styles, things like that. Even though it's not the official theme of the season, it comes up quite often there. I think the better thing is to just widen the age range that they allow for the and the other thing is just this isn't even really a theme of the season. It comes up, but really the big theme, when this season originally aired, it was Exile Island. Exile Island was the twist. That was the thing we were supposed to be focusing on. So the age part wasn't even the focal point that we were supposed to be caring about here. Exile Island was.
I mentioned during the Palau review that Palau and Guatemala basically lay the groundwork for where we are headed for the next however many seasons by introducing both Exile Island and the Idol. And then Guatemala also introduces Captain Seasons, which we'll kind of get to in a couple days. This is the second iteration of Exile Island, the first official version of it, but the second iteration, and the second iteration of the Immunity Idol. And yes, this is still the time where it is the Super Idol, which they rebranded in season 28, where it's the Tyler Perry Idol. But no, this has always been the OG non-Gary Hockaboom Hawkins
Gary
idol.
Hawkins, the humble landscaper.
Just a humble landscaper that just happened to go to Central Michigan. What do we think? Because we're only going to get this for the next 2 seasons of Idol 2.0.
I think it sucks. I think that it makes the gameplay really uninteresting. You're just not going to vote that person, right? Like, you know that they have a free pass at just idling themselves to be safe. They can literally choose, unless you split the vote, which hadn't even been really thought of until Cook Islands. But in Panama, when it's just thrown onto the players, like, whoa, what do I do with this? Okay, I guess Terry just safe forever, or until we force him to play it and just roll the dice on who he's going to vote for. Obviously that doesn't really happen because he never has to play it, but because he just wins so many immunity challenges. But yeah, I don't like it. I think that they definitely made the right decision by scrapping this iteration of the Immunity Idol. And
then, Gia?
Yeah, I mean, I think in hindsight, the first 3 times we get a hidden immunity idol, it kind of happens in the best possible scenario that we could get for this. So what I mean by that is, like, I think that Gary finding the idol how he did in Guatemala and playing it when he knew he was going to go home, and all the mess with Judd finding, like, getting the clue, clearly lying about the clue, like, that was entertaining. That was that's one of my favorite moments in Survivor history. When Yul has it, Yul is the best person that could have that idol, and it makes for a really great story of the IE2 like being the underdogs coming up. And while I was very much Kasaya, Team Kasaya, as I assume everybody was, going watching Panama, I think Terry in particular, because he had the idol and he was winning immunity, it makes for entertaining TV of, like, we just can't get rid of this one guy. So it's entertaining, but it's clearly overpowered. It was clearly not good for, exciting gameplay down the line. I think that there is an entirely different story at play if Terry gets the idol in its current format, and we would still get a really interesting season with, Kasaya turning on each other because there's nobody else left. So I think in another world, we would still get an entertaining season here, but the first 3 seasons we got it. Even though the format is not good, it's not the worst that it could be. We at least get some entertainment out of it. I'm glad they decided after 3 seasons that was enough.
Yeah, I think that it definitely doesn't ruin the season or anything. I mean, we even see in Cook Islands the guy that finds it, as you mentioned, wins the season. And even though a lot of people will say that Yul's winning game sucks or whatever because of it, it doesn't ruin the season. So it could have been a lot worse, but I think that, when you compare it to the immunity idol we have today, I don't think anybody's clamoring to go back to how it was.
Mm-mm.
Well, apparently they were. Tyler Perry was. Tyler Perry was.
Tyler Perry
or
was.
At least that's
true.
What they tell us. Tyler Perry was. And so, and I also want to touch on the actual twist, like Gia brought up earlier. The actual twist of the season is Exile Island, which we first get in Palau with Janu. And here it is a game dynamic where you can send a player from the losing tribe out there, and they can fuck off for a couple days and look for the idol. But it gets down to, I think, episode 3, so most of it is just them going out there. Now, I also said that yesterday, Guatemala is the last season where survivors trying to kill their players. This is the first season where they're not trying to kill their players. And instead they say, hey, we're just going to isolate you and we're going to kill you mentally and just put you on an island by yourself with production. But by yourself, Exile Island is one of these twists that I feel like when it started to finally lose its momentum in a few days for me, but in a few seasons, Survivor just decided, hey, you know what? Yes, okay, it's played its part. Let's kind of move on. Gia, were you ever a fan of the Exile Island twist? And where do you think it started to lose its popularity?
I love Exile Island. I don't know why we stopped doing it. I love that it returned slightly for 50. I think of all of the separate island twists that we have gotten, Exile Island is the best iteration of it, especially once we get to the seasons that realize that Exile Island is not a punishment. Like, this is something that you want to do, especially when you know that the idol is there. So I love Exile Island. I wish that this was something that we would bring up more. I wish that it doesn't have to be like an every season thing, but I wish we had it more often.
Jake, the idol being hidden on Exile Island is the other big thing with the season. And that's something that's going to go away, by the time we get to Fiji. Do you like this dynamic of just like, hey, if you go to Exile, you might find it? Or would you rather be hidden around camp?
I think there's pros and cons, right? I mean, like, we kind of see Misty, is that her name?
Misty,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
She gets like royally screwed because she gets sent, and they're just like, well, she could have the idol, so let's just get rid of her, or let's just like flush it or whatever. Yeah. So it's like it's a really bad thing to get sent there because everybody immediately is like, well, he could have it. I think Bruce even, they finally obviously figure out Terry has it. Terry gets sent there like a million times too.
It's Terry and Aris the entire season.
Yeah. So, but then when it's at camp, it's not super like entertaining to just watch somebody walk around a jungle. It's like, oh, it happened to be in this hole in this tree, so like there's pros and cons. I think like it is kind of interesting, like as you're watching, for me, when I'm rewatching, I already know Terry's going to get it, but seeing like, oh, is this time is somebody going to be able to find it? They'll have a chance, and then the opposing team or the winning team has to kind of weigh the options of like, okay, are we okay with the possibility of this person potentially getting this idol, And so I think that it makes for some good gameplay, good, thoughtful gameplay. But also, once somebody finds the idol, then it's like, oh, okay.
There's no point as a viewer to watch anything that happens on Exile. Once you know that, like as a viewer, we know that Terry has it. So everyone else that goes there, it's like, okay, so are we rooting for Danielle and Austin to like hook up? Is this why they're showing us this? Like, they're not really. There's no point to watching it. Amazingly, I'm so on the premiere here. But I do want to kind of bring up Timbertina, because Timbertina is in the pantheon of first boots. Like Timbertina is one that, like, if you're a Survivor fan, Timbertina as a first boot. And she, in a season where there are definitely some people that are under edited, she's not one of them, and she's the first boot. I if I were to ever rank first boots based off of my own preferences, Timbertina would probably be my top 10 because she has a nickname. Gia, are you a Timbertina person, knowing that she did try to go after Suri?
I mean, listen, if you go after Suri, you just need to know I'm on Suri's side. Like, you're never going to make me wish that Suri, like, you're never going to get me to admit that Suri is in the wrong. Unfortunately, that's just not going to happen. That is the world we live in. I've accepted it. You all should too. However.
Sorry, Tina. Maybe you should have been scared of leaves too.
Yeah. But I will say that there is something, but first of all, this is a great introduction to Suri, where we really see right away her full power, because by all means, from what we have seen in the premiere and from what we have seen in past seasons, Tina, at the very least, should be the most valuable asset on the older women's team. And eventually would be an asset to whatever tribe she would have been she would have been a part of. Suri in Another World. First time we get a confessional of her saying that she's scared of leaves. That's our first boot. Like, thank you, Jocelyn Perkins, 7309. You are correct. But on paper, Suri should have been the first boot in Panama, and Tina should be the one that makes a deep run. If not Final Four, makes it at least very far. But and this is one of the things that we love about Suri, is that she is able to not just defy the odds, but break stereotypes with it. It's not that, yes, she is afraid of leaves. She's afraid of nature. Same girl. And we're gonna, there is, in Survivor, that's not really a good thing to admit, and to have air in the premiere. However, brain speeds brawn every time, as Suri has proved time and time again. And I think this is a really great introduction. Obviously, Tina herself is a really intriguing character for multiple reasons. However, she is the sacrificial lamb to introduce us to the legacy that is Suri, this ultimate strategist.
Yeah, every time I've done this, the what if of Suri going home over Timbertina always gets brought up. I really don't want to have to dwell on that, but it is always fun to think about. Fun is a relative phrase, of what happens if Suri is the first one out. But I guess the point of this entire thing is we gave Tina her time, and they give her more kudos at the reunion. So good on her. And we take off with the actual season. This is more of like a prologue to what actually happened for the rest of the season. The premiere is, okay, yeah. The premiere, or the second episode, starts with a swap. The only swap that we're going to get in the season, where we get Kasaya versus Lamina. And I'm going to tell y'all, this season for me, every time I watch it, I want to drop it in my personal rankings, because Lamina is so boring that the pre-merge is not boring if we're at Kasaya. If we're at Lamina, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to sit on my phone. Today, I sat on my phone every time Lamina was on the screen, because I just did not care about anything happening there, including with Dan Fuego. And then once the merge hits, it's still those first few rounds where we're getting rid of generic white and generic white too, that I just kind of check out, because I don't care about any of these people. But we do get introduced to Kasaya here, probably my favorite tribe ever, outside of maybe the villains tribe. Kasaya is I don't know who I texted about this yesterday, but if you put Kasaya on Gabon, Kasaya is still chaotically entertaining on a season like that, where everything is just off the rails. Gia, Kasaya, all time for you. Are we still looking highly on them in 2026?
Kasaya is the best tribe. It's definitely the best newbie tribe we've ever gotten. And I would argue that in terms of entertainment value, they beat the villains as well. I think they are that they are that funny. They are that good of a tribe. And there are so many reasons. I think part of it is like Lamina kind of has to be boring. Like, they are a very boring tribe. They're very generic. Every time they lose immunity, you can tell right off the bat the direction they're going in and why they're voting. They're very keep the tribe strong, Survivor 101. This is exactly what you would expect from them. But it only just elevates the antics that go on in Kasaya. Because even when I'm looking at the boot order right now on Wikipedia to just like make sure I'm not messing anything up, but like Bob Dog is 5th out. He's the 5th person voted out of this season. And 2nd person voted out of the new Kasaya, right? And he is part of one of the, first of all, he's a hilarious confessionalist. Like, even if Casa de Charmin does not happen, he is still hilarious. Like, a really great character to have. But combine that with Casa de Charmin, which, again, please bring that back as a reward.
Well, we're going to bring it up a little later anyways.
Yes. But, like, that's already one insane, like, hilarious moment that is happening there. And that's, like, that probably doesn't even mark, like, top 5 of Kasaya shenanigans. Like, we're not even in Merge yet. We're not even... Are we? Yeah, no, we still have another vote before Merge. So it cannot be overstated how hilarious of a tribe that Kasaya is. And everybody brings something, and that's what I love about them. There's like, everybody has a role, and it's just hilariousness all the way through. You would think that this tribe, once they get to Merge, are going to be entertaining because of the fact that they would turn on each other. And it's the exact opposite. They are so committed to staying together and getting out Lamina for our entertainment's sake. And so committed to eventually getting out Terry that they are like, I guess I am stuck with you because I said I was going to stay with all of you. It's the most dysfunctional and dominant tribe that we like, dysfunctionally dominant alliance tribe, whatever you want to call it, that we have ever had. And I love them so much for it. I think Kasaya alone makes Panama worth the rewatch, and it makes it one of the most entertaining seasons to rewatch for me.
Yeah. Jake?
Yeah, I mean, I think both of you kind of, summed it all up, but I'll try to add what I can of, the fact, like, it's almost like a huge indictment on Terry that he wasn't able to break into this alliance. And when they all hate each other, they despise each other. And the funniest part, too, they chose each other. It wasn't just a random tribe swap. It was a schoolyard pick. Mm-hmm. They chose each other. Obviously, it was like day 2. It is, of course. I think, like, even Danielle chooses Shane. It's like, let's go with the cool guy.
Yeah.
Do you guys know why Danielle chose Shane?
Why?
Is it not because of the Boston tattoo?
Yes, it is because of the Boston tattoo, which Danielle assumed meant that he was from Boston. Boston is the name of his son. So also a very Kasaya thing to happen.
Yes. I don't think I believe in fate. I'm not going to get existential here. I don't think I believe in fate, but Kasaya is one of those reasons. If I were to ever say, yeah, I think I agree with fate, or I believe in fate, is because you can that is only possible because of fate. We get Kasaya because it's random chance as in it was destined to happen. And I kind of Mario Lanza brought this up during the Vanuatu pod of everything post season 8 is like a reboot of the show's history. And if that's the case, I feel like season 12 is where we are now in the era where we're going to start introducing all of these over-the-top cartoon characters, is what I call them, where we get people like Shane, where we get people like Courtney, we get people like Bruce. These characters that if they were on Total Drama Island, it would make sense because this person cannot be real. There is no chance in hell that this man is this going through this much withdrawal from cigarettes that he is just having these random outbursts. There's no way that this white woman with dreads is shocked that she's being clocked as a poser. It's and we're going to continue to get this for a long time, where we just keep casting people that are just animated cartoon characters. And I think that's one of the many reasons that Lamina is boring. It's because they don't have any of those cartoon characters. They have Dan Fuego and Terry Dietz, who are just honesty, integrity personified. And then you've got the two generic white guys whose one name was Austin and the other guy's name I keep forgetting.
It's Nick, in case anyone's wondering. Yes.
Yeah, it's Nick.
He actually
and
has
they go out right after each other.
Good final words. He does have good final words.
Nick has really good final words, and every time I rewatch this season, I'm like, "What the hell? Where did that come from?"
Where did that come from?
That was like weirdly beautiful. Like,
I think Nick. I think Nick was the actor. I think so. That might have some.
That might.
That might be.
No, Austin did, because Austin was like an author. So
okay, so maybe that was
something like that.
Yeah, it was one. It's hard to differentiate the two.
Yes, but Lamina. The problem with Lamina is they have nobody. They have nobody that's over the top, and Kasaya has everybody that's over the top. Where Aris, who in episode 1 is being portrayed as this fool, by the time he's on Kasaya, he's looked at as one of the more level-headed individuals here, because he's being toppled by Courtney, Bruce, and Shane, to the point where, they lose that first immunity challenge after the swap, and Shane is basically saying, yeah, I need to quit. I need y'all to vote me out. I need you to get rid of me. I need a cigarette. I miss my son. All of this. Tells Melinda and Sari, hey, like, y'all are good. You'll be fine. And this is the only moment of the season where I dislike Aris, because, and we're going to talk about honesty and integrity at the end of the episode, or at the end of this, but Aris basically goes to Melinda and Sari and is like, hey, I just want to be upfront. One of y'all are going home because I don't want to lie in this game, because honesty, integrity. If you are in a pre-merge of a game, and this is just a opinion question for both of you, Jake, we'll start with you. If you're playing in an era where it's just the idol as where it is in this, would you want to know before you go to tribal, or would you still just don't fucking tell me?
I mean, I guess tell me, because, if I care about honesty, then yeah, sure, be honest with me. Like, if that's what's happening. Also, then maybe I'll know to actually fight to keep myself in the game too. Yeah, but that's interesting. I just want to say, it's interesting that you say this is the only time when Aris bothers you, because I'll get into it, but I might be the most anti-Aris fan out there. No, I'm probably not, but he really grinds my gears in the late episodes.
Only to Terry, I'm sure.
Yes, yeah.
Both, yeah. But
No. Terry is Aris's biggest hater, I'm assuming. So you could be
second to
yes.
Yeah, I probably don't hate, although Terry does vote for Aris to win. Give him $1 million,
because he's not going to vote for a woman, but that's just me. Gia, what I want to ask you,
you could never make me hate a man that was willing to lose to Sari.
Yeah, that's Gia, what I want to ask,
I've heard
the OG Fields child.
I've heard that allegedly he would have beat Sari, and I don't want to believe it.
Who said that?
I don't know, but I mean, you think about it. I mean,
Terry will probably still vote for Aris.
Probably
Sally will probably still vote for Aris, and Austin would still vote for Aris. So that's 3 votes right there.
I think it depends how
Shane would be pissed at Sari. Shane would pissed.
I don't know if once Shane has a few cigarettes, I think he'll be calmed down a little bit, but I think it depends on how Courtney and Bruce are feeling at this point. with
was
like
nicer to them?
yeah, Bruce might be a vote for Aris, but I think
Because that would make
I
it
don't know.
4.
I
That
don't
make
see
it
a
4
really
right there.
what?
That would make, if Bruce votes for Aris, that's probably 4 votes right there for Aris.
I think
That's what I'm
was
saying.
it? Austin, Bruce, Terry,
and Sally, because they're all going to look at Aris as the leader of the Kasaya group.
I don't know if Sally would vote Art.
Yeah, Sally could probably go either
Yeah,
way,
okay.
honestly.
And also, I just think that, I mean, I don't think that Aris's final tribal council is particular. I don't think either of their final tribal council performances are
It's not.
like particularly memorable, but I think that if anybody's going to sway some votes either way, it's going to be Suri, especially versus actually Danielle and Aris are both 24.
It's
So
gonna
like
be
I
Suri.
think that Suri's kind of got a leg up on the tribal count on like the final tribal council on there. So it's not it's
Well,
I
and
don't
so
think
Gia,
it's
this
a
is the
blowout, but
question
I
I
do
was
think
going to
that
ask you then.
what was that? Sorry.
I'm sorry. I cut in front of you. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. I was saying I don't think it's like Suri wins unanimously, but I think it's or even like it's a blowout vote, but I think that for hypotheticals on there, I think if anybody's going to be swayed, like it could like Suri has that power.
Yeah, she could. I mean, we've unfortunately never seen her give a final tribal council speech, but
I'm so mad about that.
But I'm sure it would be really good because her power of persuasion just at everyday camp is so good. So I don't doubt that. It's just like I feel like if there is a conventional wisdom of who wins in that scenario, I feel like the people that have asked this question to people on Panama usually lean towards Aris might win, but we'll never know. And it's a hypothetical that we don't have the full information to because it never happened. So
Gia, what I wanted to ask you is, get your opinion on is, the fact that Cerise is safe that first round, Timbertina goes home. And then when Kasaya loses here and they pick her over Melinda, which once again, like they have to know that Cerise is afraid of all of this stuff, and she's still, but we're not shown. So the first 2 rounds of Cerise eligible to get voted out.
Yeah.
We're not shown her putting in all of the work, but with the benefit of hindsight, we know that she's out there wheeling and dealing to save her ass. My question for you would be, because they know how the season turns out, they know that she's going to go home as maybe not a front runner, but maybe a front runner. She's going to go out at 4. Why don't they show us these first 2 rounds where she is escaping these, almost certain she's going to go home in both of these, and she doesn't? Why don't they show us that?
I think that it's a little bit of, I don't know if they fully know the type of stories they want to tell at this point in Survivor history yet. I know that Survivor is very big on like selling us a story. And while we all love Suri, and she was definitely one of the 2 big stars of Panama, with the second being Terry, she is, she doesn't win. So it might not necessarily be as important to the larger story that they're telling. Also, I feel like the earlier seasons, it was, and because it doesn't just happen here, there are quite a few episodes where it's kind of like they give us a few options of some names that it might be Shane, it might be Melinda, it might be Suri, and then we go to tribal council. Tribal council's like 2 minutes long, and then someone is voted out. We don't necessarily see everything that happens from when immunity is lost to when tribal council is happening. Like and those older seasons are really big on like the immunity challenges, who's providing a camp, who is it was a lot heavier on like the camp life before the challenges, the reward and immunity challenges. We don't get as much with the old school format of this is all the stuff that Cirie did to make sure that it was Melinda over her or Shane over her if they decided to keep Shane. But I think that we have plenty of evidence throughout the season to say that is most likely what happens here, is that she was working her ass off to make sure that it was not going to be her.
So the first thing that popped in my head when you started talking about that is, for everyone watching this live or while it's streaming, the Survivor 50 finale just happened last night. And as you're sitting there talking about it, it's like, yeah, I'm assuming Stephanie has only went back and watched seasons without actually paying attention to anything that happened during the seasons, because she brought up, oh yeah, I'm from old school where like it matters that you do stuff around camp and this, that, the other. It's like, I don't think you've ever understood what the show is about then, if you think that's what old school is actually about.
I think that's like, in old school, obviously they put an emphasis on camp life, but nobody won Survivor because they provided around camp. It might deter somebody from not voting for you to win if they perceive you as lazy, but people vote for who they want to see win, and that usually is not due to how much you provided around camp. There's never been a winner that won because of their work ethic.
Their work ethic, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not a fan of Stephanie, as I made clear last night and the night before, but whatever. Let's get to the Charmin reward. But quickly, I want to go over the challenge. We don't have to spend too much time on it, but like as Bob Dog is cutting the fish, I am afraid that he's going to chop his hand off because of how hard he's going with it.
It was very powerful.
It was very powerful.
I feel like it felt it through the TV.
I had to look up because once again, I think I was setting this up as that challenge was going on, and I'm like, that was so loud that I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Oh, okay. But we get the Charmin reward, we get the outhouse, we get the wine and everything in between, and we get the only moment that Kasaya has a vote pre-merge where it's not set in stone what's going to happen. Now Cirie has ingrained herself enough with the tribe that it's her name's not even coming up. Somehow she's able to get in such a good spot that her name's not coming up, and it's what Bruce, Shane, and Bob Dog are the only real names out there. But before we get to that, Jake, if you are playing Survivor and you are provided with an outhouse and a bottle of wine, are you pulling a Bruce and a Bob Dog?
Of course I am. An homage, right? I mean, well, and also if it's raining and like, what did he say that he got pushed out of his spot, right?
Yeah.
In the
shelter. By Courtney, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Screw you, Courtney. Also, you ruined my rock garden. So I'm gonna go sleep in the outhouse, okay? And steal your wine. Which, by the way, Bob Dog saying, "I'm sorry that I deprived everyone else but you the wine. I'm not sorry that I deprived you of the wine." It's so good.
It's one of the best pre-20 challenge reward challenges.
Why did the editors even bother turning over to the Lamina tribe, right? Like, they could have just like put like a little text on screen like, and stuff happened at Lamina. They lost and they decided to vote this person out.
To vote out another.
Let's go back to our show, the Kasaya show, please. You know?
Gia, Casa de Charmin.
It's one of my favorite Survivor moments. It's just so funny. It's a comedy of errors the entire way through. I wish they did more rewards like this, where you win something at camp, because there were so many layers. It was like, first, it's not an outhouse, which obviously Bob Dog already was like, I've already taken a dump in here, so what are we gonna do? And then the fact that they use it to store firewood, but then they stole the reward wine and drank in the outhouse. It's like a dream come true on Survivor. I would love to get wine drunk in like an enclosed space while it's raining. Like, and it was great. It was just great all the way through. Like I think that like not enough credit is given to Bob Dog as like a character, like because of how he's obviously a big character, but he's voted out before the merge, and like, you know, and Kasaya is filled with so many big characters. You know, it's easy to get lost in all of the crazy things that happen in throughout the season, but Bob Dog is up there for like all time like funny pre-merge characters. I think that, like, you know, he's provided one of the funniest moments in Survivor history. So I am so glad about it. It's not often we get super hilarious moments like this in the pre-merge, but this is the type of stuff that I miss in Survivor, where it's like you have the ethics debate of what are we using this reward for, and what are we going to we won wine, what are we going to do with this wine, how are we going to ration our reward, things like that. So I just loved it. It was great. It's one of those things that are just like going to live on in Survivor fame, Survivor infamy, if you will, forever. It's one of the things that I love about the show.
Bob Dog's also just built like a brick shit house. Like, he's probably the biggest person on this season by a very large margin. He's jacked.
Mm-hmm.
The Bob Dog vote out. So people like to talk, especially with how 50 just ended and all that. People love to talk about winners' edits. And I feel like in this season, if you want a deep dive, you could probably see where Ars is going to win. For me, watching it how I watch it, it's like I look for moments that, for instance, in the Bob Dog vote out, it seems like a lot of the reasoning that people want Bob Dog gone is because Aris is calling the shots. And Aris doesn't want Bob Dog gone, so we're gonna vote elsewhere because Aris doesn't want Bob Dog gone. And I think Danielle or Courtney, I can't remember which one, I think it was Danielle, says, we need to get rid of Bob Dog because Aris has too much control over the tribe. And so we do inevitably lose Bob Dog here before the next episode, which we're going to get to in a second. I know Jeff has said that Aris is one of his, the most boring winner, or whatever phrase he used to describe Aris. Jake, for you, first time you watched it and anytime you've watched it since then, do you see moments in the edit of like, I can see how they might be telegraphing that he's going to win?
Yes and no. I think that, like, speaking of 50, I think a lot of people were able to kind of sniff out an Aubrey win, right? Is she was given a lot of really unnecessary content, right? And given credit for stuff that, was not really her move.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I really look for, is like, where are they getting content when they don't really need it? When in this season, I feel like Aris, they talk about how Aris is, in control of the tribe or whatever, but that's not really like editing. I don't want to say like tricks or anything, but it's just kind of what was happening. And like you said, that's a big reason why they actually wanted Bob Dog out. So that's just giving context to really what's just happening. So I don't really consider that like trying to telegraph the winner. I would say, like, if this season aired now and like had the Edgic community or whatever kind of looking at it, I don't think that they would be like, it's totally Aris. He's got the classic winner's head. I think they would probably be like, it could be him. There's nothing like going against him, but all of the stuff that they're talking about him is just kind of stuff that's happening. So
I kind of compare it to Erica in 41, where we get a lot of content in 41 of people talking about how big of a threat Erica actually is, but we never actually see it happen, and we don't really get her point of view because Survivor hates women. And so we end up in a situation that when she wins, like, people like me, it's like, okay, cool, Erica won. Then you get people like the Facebook moms who are like, no, we need to give $1 million to Xander somehow. We need to start a GoFundMe, so make sure that Xander gets his piece of the pie. And I feel like Aris is kind of in that category with Erica of overly under-edited, that we have to rely on what other people say about them to kind of understand why they are a threat. Gia, for you, like, what, as you, because I know that you didn't start, like, you watched this season like later in life.
Oh no, this one I watched in real time. I watched from Vanuatu onwards.
Vanuatu, okay.
Yeah.
So just from beginning to whenever the last time you rewatched it, Aris as he's shown in the edit, did you kind of pick up on signals, or it's like, were you overly shocked when he won?
So when I originally watched this, you know, and I think this was the general feeling about the season in general, was that the big characters, the people that going into the finale that people were expecting to win, were Cirie or Terry. Like, those were the two fan favorites, maybe some of the biggest fan favorites that we've had in the show's history. You know, like, they were big characters and people really liked them. So for them to both go and fourth and third, and then we have a Danielle and Aris finale, or a final two, I should say. It's almost, I think that a lot of people felt it was anticlimactic. However, I think quite often we get edits, and I would argue that one of my favorite winners ever, Earl Cole, also falls into this category as well. Of, this person is, in my mind, a strong winner. They clearly earned their spot. Maybe Aris was not as dominant strategically in the game as an Earl or a Cirie or some of the other players that we see, but he clearly played a good enough game to get there. He was good at challenges, which especially back then was a big deal. It's part of the reason they keep him around for so long, because they expect that he would be the one to beat Terry in an immunity challenge. So that's a big part of it. But I think that rewatching it, especially, it's not necessarily the winner's edits that we get today, but it's you know what, this makes sense, especially of all of the shenanigans we get from Kasaya, thinking about like just how over the top this tribe is. Aris is kind of the same guy from the end, by the end of the season. Like, he is like the sane man amongst this cast of kooky characters. I would argue Cirie is probably the most sane one in this group here, but she has her own role. She has a separate role from being the sane woman in the tribe. So I don't think that the story is necessarily that like Aris in particular wins in the winner's edit. It is Kasaya beats out Terry, and the I want to say it is the rightful winner, but that's not the word I'm looking for. It's like, but and like the best person for the job won at the end. You know, like I think that it was more so a Kasaya versus Terry storyline. By the time we get out, I think Sally is the last person that from Lamina after Terry. So I think that's more the arc that we get here.
Yeah, I do agree. Like at that point, it's like, okay, Kasaya is going to win, so it doesn't really matter which one it is, because they conquered the hero or villain depending on how you watch this season. And so before we get to Kasaya versus Terry Dietz, the back half of the season, I just want to quickly point out that the final episode before the merge is the Dan Fuego boot episode, which they hype up so much throughout. It's like something you've never seen before on the show, and like the most shocking tribal council ever, and this, that, and the other. And really all it is they tell Dan, you're going home, and then
old man, you're done.
He goes home, and that's all it is.
I think that the thing you've never seen before is the Kasaya picks Sally to go on to Exile Island because they correctly guess that they will vote for a woman if they can, and now that they can't, it's this very awkward, like, walk around honor and integrity role. And I love Dan. Okay, this is not anything on Dan.
I like
Fun fact: Dan used to do, I think it was Ultimate Frisbee at Mount Holyoke College, where my sister went to school. So she actually knew Dan, and like was one time she was like, you know, one of our. It might be soccer. It's one of those two. She was like, one of my ultimate Frisbee coaches were on Survivor. And I said, I'm like, oh, do you know the name? It says Dan. I'm like, there's a lot of Dans. And she's like, he was an astronaut. I'm like, Dan. I'm like, you mean Dan Barry? Like, I am familiar.
Dan Fuego?
Dan Fuego? I'm like, yes, I am familiar. Fuego. Thank you. So it was a fun little, and you know, Dan made his mark. He was another fun. Bob Dog was a funny Survivor pre-merge character. Dan was a very delightful pre-merge character. So sad to see him go, but you know, it was a nice send-off for him.
My favorite Dan Fuego moment is his final words after he gets voted out. I'm like, I'm surprised Terry didn't vote for me. I was like, really? Because they told you this is going to happen. I know, but
I thought we were going to force a tie there. Really? That's the impression you got when the entire episode is about how they're telling you that you're about to go home.
But no, I like Dan Fuego outside of Sally, and more because I think Sally's cute and like endearing.
Sally deserved better.
Yeah, Dan Fuego is my favorite person on Lamina outside of Sally. So yeah, I don't hate Dan Fuego. He's fun. He went to space. Okay, so we hit merge. And Kasaya, the beginning of the episode, after they were just pissed off at the fact that Bob Dog has been gone and we all hate each other, and Shane's trying to take his son's name back because he's foreign his son's name. And if you watch Survivor Vanuatu, he knows that people will hate you forever if you do that. He tries to take his son's name back, but then they see Lamina coming in. It's like, okay, guys, we're doing this. We're staying Kasaya strong. We're staying Navidi strong all the way through. No matter what happens, we're sticking to it. And so begins Terry versus Kasaya, which I know what they're. It's very similar to. This is a horrible comparison, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's very similar to Thailand, where I feel like they want us to root for Chuigan at certain points, but we don't want to, and so we're like obligated to root for Lamina. But here it's the exact opposite, where it's like I feel like they want us to hate Kasaya, but we can't hate Kasaya. We have to root for these people, even the crazy ones. And so they come over, and we lose the two generic whites, Austin and what's his face, and we have Sally. We have the what challenge was it? The videos, the videos from home as where Sally goes home. But Gia, where have you fallen on, like, over time or just all the time? Has it ever been Terry's the good guy, Kasaya's the bad guy, or?
I think when I originally watched it gives very like Facebook versus Twitter stan wars of like the Facebookers are definitely Team Terry. Very, I think 41's a great example. Very Team Xander. Xander, if you're watching this, I do not think you are a Terry. Okay, I would never. You seem like a lovely young man. But you know, they have their idea of what makes an excellent Survivor player. If Twitter was around and TikTok was around when Survivor Panama was airing, we'd be getting so many fan edits of every member of Kasaya. You know, like they would be the bells of the ball. This would be talked about. I can't even imagine like the memes that would come out of it. It just, you know, like they were ahead of their time. I also think that Survivor doesn't necessarily, you know, there is always going to be this debate about, especially in the older seasons of, you know, what makes a good Survivor season and what makes good Survivor players / tribes. There is the argument, the moral dilemmas of like honor and integrity. Kasaya is super interesting because they don't really consider turning on each other until they absolutely have to. Like maybe they waver every once in a while, but they never really consider it. And it does feel like they want us to root for Lamina in that they are the honor and integrity people, but over time it's just, you know, like Kasaya's it. Kasaya's the it girls. And I would say, like, when I originally watched it, it wasn't necessary. When I was younger, it was definitely like, you are pro Terry and pro Cirie, and it doesn't matter that these two are not getting along. Like, they are on opposite sides of the fence here. But, and I think that feeling goes into the finale again when I said how, you know, it was, you know, the two big stars go out fourth and third. I would say, and I don't know if maybe older fans had, like, people that were older when the season aired, because I think I was, how old? When did this?
5 or 6. Oh, 5 or 06.
Yeah, so I was, it aired in 06, so I was 11. So I had a very simplistic view about it, but I think that I think time has been very kind to Kasaya in that, yeah, some of the moments don't age well, but the entertainment value trumps all here, and therefore, like, Kasaya is kind of the darlings of the very chaotic darlings of the season, and Lamina's there, they're boring, and Terry isn't necessarily, like, his game doesn't age well in the new school era. I know he had some really good moments in Cambodia when he came back, but looking at his Panama game specifically, it does not age well in the new era of the game because it relies so much on, like, honor and integrity, challenge strength, and all the stuff that we don't really care about. And we know that those things don't win you Survivor.
Stephanie, Coach, and Chrissy would have voted for him, though.
They absolutely would have, and they would have said that he is Terry needs the total package.
Stephanie would have been in love with this shit.
But I'm sure to this day, they're saying, you know, I think Cirie was just gosh darn too mean to Terry Deeds here. But I think that
poisoned the jury against him.
Yes, she has poisoned the jury. However, I think that like the players themselves and the fans that are watching it, we're mostly Team Kasaya. At least the people that my friends and I are Team Kasaya. I don't associate with Lamina people. I do my best to stay away.
I've never met one, and I don't.
Yeah, I've never met Lamina.
I think anybody that is Team Lamina does not watch Survivor enough to be like have opinions on the show.
Yeah, I was to say,
if you know people, Lamina, but they just don't know it yet.
Yeah, like no, you just don't watch Survivor enough to realize like what you are saying here.
Yeah. Do you understand you're witnessing history?
Yes.
Here? Like,
I'm like, no. Shane, like, shitty apartment is like the gold standard for comedy. Okay, like, no. You can't tell me that this is mean. All right, this is no. You just don't understand Survivor yet.
Go ahead.
I just want to say, legitimately, the shitty apartment moment. Like,
oh no, we're gonna get to that. So don't bring that up. We're gonna get to that.
Oh.
We're gonna get to that. No shitty apartments
yet.
What I want to ask you here though is when we merge and Terry goes to Cirie specifically and says, "Hey, like we could do something and you won't have to worry about it for the next couple of weeks." He basically tries to make it so that it's a 4-2 in Lamina's favor. And everyone, I think Shane, he also goes to Shane with it. And they're just both like, no, that's dumb. Why would I do that? And in Cirie's case, yeah, it makes total sense. In Shane's case, it also just makes sense because he thinks that he's at least number 1 or 2 in as far as Kasaya is concerned. So, like, if Terry's come to you in a very large minority at a merge, is there any world where you are taking the deal?
No, well, okay. So obviously one of these people is number 6. There has to be, right?
Yeah.
And it probably was gonna be Bruce. I mean, he gets medically evacuated, obviously, but it was probably gonna be Bruce. Had that just been a regular vote. So it would make sense for Bruce. Well, actually, no, because then it would have just been 5-5, right? And it could have gone to rocks. So, I mean,
can you imagine Kasaya trying to orchestrate a rock draw? Just trying to sway each other to like move off of the rock draw. And I guarantee you a Lamina person still would have gone home.
Just because the luck was not on Lamina's side this season.
Fate, because fate exists.
Fate, exactly. But
Jake, continue.
Yeah, I think that Terry, you obviously you can't just you got to try something. You got to like try to convince these people. Terry knew that he was screwed. They were screwed at this vote. It's 4-6. So unless you can convince somebody, then you're toast. But yeah, it doesn't make sense for Shane, Sari, or Aris because they all think that they're in control. Aris and Sari are very correct in their assessment that no, I'm good. Like I got this under control. As for like maybe Courtney or Bruce, yeah, maybe it could have been a decent choice, but even then, it's just like your chances with Kasaya are so much better because the dynamics are so fucked up that like anything could happen. If you think you're on the bottom, maybe boom, something Shane blows up on Aris or something, and now Aris is on the bottom. Like anything could happen.
The argument he makes is not bad. It's the way he makes the argument that is terrible because he's not saying, hey, I think you might, like, if you feel like you are on the bottom, team up with me and Lamina and we, as in like us 2 or us 3, like I have an idol. We could work together. Like we have what it takes to make it to the end together. It was essentially, hey, you may be on the bottom of the Kasaya alliance. Why don't you flip over to Lamina and then you can be on the bottom of the Lamina alliance because we're all super tight and close and we've bonded so much over the season. Like it's like, I understand the argument he was trying to make, but the execution was awful. And it really does. And anybody with a brain cell, Kasaya, was able to just be like, that's stupid. I'm not doing that. But of course, like we see him make the pitch to Sari, who famously has many brain cells and was able to sniff out this plan right away. So even if he did not mean to take one of these Kasaya people to the end, that's the argument he should have made. But also, it is even more terrible of a thing in this era of the show because the people that flip from their one majority alliance to a different majority alliance are going to be building up a jury of all the people they just flipped on. They're very likely not going to win.
Twyla.
Yeah.
We talked about it the other day. It's just like these people, they brought up the fact she swore on her son, but like these people are more upset that she flipped on her alliance.
Twyla Tanner, you will always be famous to me. Yes. You were never in the wrong. You can swear on me when you play in Second Chances too. Thank you.
And this is not the only time we're going to bring up Twyla tonight. Last time I did this, I had Panama 19th out of 46, which I feel like is pretty good. I don't know how you guys see that. And I think the reason that I have it in the higher half of seasons, and it's probably not going to change this time around, is because from the Sally boot until the finale, it's just it's so good to the point where you'd be shocked if people didn't have Panama that high. And so we start with the final 8 and the family videos and all that, but we also get Shane's penis and Sari having to look that over. And we lose Sally. This is the last chance for Terry to potentially play the idol for one of his people. Sally goes home, and we get to Final 7, where we get touchy subjects. And it's the only challenge that Suri has ever won through 6 seasons of Survivor. And it's the perfect challenge. It's my favorite challenge by a very large margin. But Suri wins the challenge, and it is very much a pecking order because Terry goes first, Bruce goes second, and Courtney's getting all the shit answers. And I think she also goes third or fourth. I think her and Shane are, they believe, maybe Daniel. I don't know. Final seven episode, even though there is no actual boot in the episode, is one of my favorite episodes of all time because it starts with touchy subjects. Suri and Aris go off to do their thing. Courtney catches all the shit during touchy subjects. Courtney and Shane have their very famous fight when they're back at camp. Bruce starts dying through all of it. And no one gets voted out. And I don't care because we're in peak Kasaya at this point. This is it's all downhill from here because we just hit peak Kasaya here. Shitty apartment, and the fact that Shane says, I'm going to go kill you in your shitty apartment, all Courtney hears is, my apartment isn't shitty.
You can't make this up. You literally can't even write this.
Jake,
it's
you
incredible.
first. Jake, the Final 7 episode, what has lingered with you to this day about that?
It has everything. I mean, obviously, like we've eliminated the fodder, right? We're down to, Terry, who, I mean, listen, it is a pretty compelling, I know that we kind of shit on Terry a little bit, but it is a compelling story. The fact that, like, we cannot get this guy out. We want this guy out, and he just keeps winning, and he has an immunity idol, and he just won't go the fuck away. We're down to all the Kasayas plus this motherfucker that they just want out of the game so bad. So that's already, amazing in itself. And the fact that, Terry has an immunity idol. So even if he doesn't win immunity, they already know they have to turn on each other because he has the idol. So that's already lingering. Then there's the shitty apartment, which, as you said, her taking more offense that she has a shitty apartment rather than the fact that he just threatened to murder her is incredible. All while he's sitting cross-legged on his little stump, that his thinking stump or whatever. And Bruce is just dying. He can't poop. What did you say? He hasn't pooped in like a week or something?
It turned out that he couldn't piss or poop. Like, everything was blocked. On both ends were blocked.
Has got to be probably, obviously I have not experienced this. I imagine that's probably the worst pain you've ever experienced in your entire life, right? I mean,
I can't imagine much more painful unless, like, someone stabbed him, which it looks like. I mean, it's Kasaya. Anything could happen, but.
And all while Bruce is being medically evacuated, taken away, Shane is naked.
Shane's naked.
And
why wouldn't
Courtney is like serenading him and talking about how she's going to take care of his rock garden, which is probably the last thing that he wants to hear because he already fucked up his rock garden. So no, Courtney, I don't want to hear this while I'm dying of potentially appendicitis or whatever that they think it is before they find out, no, his bowels are just completely filled to the brim with shit. It's just like on paper, right?
Sherman when you need it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like even that, like the full circle irony of the fact, like he spent all this time in an outhouse and then he gets medically evacuated because he can't take a shit.
I wonder if Bruce would rate the constipation worse than the machete to the face earlier again. Yeah. I feel like the constipation. Probably still the constipation.
Yeah.
It lingers.
I would never, Jake, you described it beautifully, the medevac. I would never wish a medevac on anybody, even the players I hate. But of all the medevacs we've ever had, and we never want a medevac, it's just not a fun aspect of the game. We don't want to see people have to suffer like that, and such a crappy way to go out. This was hilarious. It was, I wish it didn't result in a medevac, but this was very funny.
And it was, I think it ended up okay, because I don't think it's very controversial to say that Bruce was probably not winning, right? I mean,
yeah. If it's going to happen to anyone here, like, he wasn't going to win.
Unless he miraculously is able to take Courtney to the end, then he probably does, because that will lead into Cerie's brilliant move at the final 6. But but anyways, my point is that, the medevac, of course, as we all agree, never want to wish that on anybody. But I mean, come on. It's so good.
It really is.
I think this time around, what I found so funny about this scene, because of the way I watched this, take a drink every time you hear me say that for the next however many days. Because of the way that I watched this, 4 days ago, I watched Survivor All-Stars. And in Survivor All-Stars, when Jenna Maraska leaves the game, they play this very emotional music as she gets on the boat. They played the exact same music when Bruce is being evacuated. The only problem is I just have to sit there and watch Courtney try to sing to him and Shane be naked. So I'm not getting overly emotional as Bruce is being evacuated. It's like, holy shit, of course this only happens to Kasaya, and they're still playing the Jenna Maraska music for this evacuation. It was probably the hardest I've laughed today, because I realized, oh man, they want this to be a moment, and it can't be, because Shane's fucking naked and Courtney is a poser.
They picked the most unserious tribe to have a medic evacuation.
This would have never happened.
Aren't two people? Not everyone is at camp, right? When this happens, like someone.
No, yeah.
People
the
are
other half are on reward.
They're on reward.
Oh no, sorry. Terry's on exile. Cerie, Aris, and Danielle are at reward.
Yes.
So they come back and they're like, "Yeah, Bruce is gone." Like that just adds to it too.
And Courtney and Shane,
what's going on?
Courtney and Shane are still, because Courtney is upset that she got all the shit answers, and Shane's upset that Cerie didn't pick him to go on the chat. They're like, "Oh yeah, and Bruce is kind of gone." They're like, "Oh, what do you mean Bruce is gone?"
Oh yeah,
we don't know what's going on.
Oh yeah, you missed it.
You guys are. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, like Bruce is gone. It's like, no, I'm upset that you didn't pick me and you called me a poser. Having said that, I have this in my notes, because Courtney is boy. White people with dreads have always just, but also Courtney is a poser. Like by a large margin, Courtney is a poser. You don't have to go into any detail about it. Would you guys agree that Courtney is a poser?
Of course.
Yeah, I think the more accurate term for today would be performative, but it's the same general idea.
Yes. Okay.
I think that poser, I feel like, people still use the term poser all the time nowadays, but at the time, I think the fact too that she doesn't know she's a poser, and I don't even think, doesn't she say she doesn't even know what a poser is? And Jeff's like, the answer to what a poser is you. Which amazing Jeff moment there. But poser is like, that was a popular term at the time. I feel like, so sure. So that just makes it even better, where it's like she's so blissfully unaware what a poser is, what it means, all the while she's like the embodiment of it.
I'm amazed that Jeff knew what a poser was. He probably used Urban Dictionary, because that was back when Urban Dictionary was like really taken off at that point. The only other thing, Courtney wise, before we get to her final later, Courtney has a confessional, I think either during the Sally episode or the Bruce episode, where she goes, she wants to go to the end with Terry because she's for sure certain that she can beat him, which is just one of the craziest things you'll ever hear. I
listen, I know we all want to believe that Courtney can't beat Terry. I think we're underestimating how much Kasaya hates Terry. I'm trying to. So wait, because the jury would be. So Sally and Nick are on the jury. They're voting Terry.
Austin.
No, I think Austin. Wait.
No, it's the other one. It's Austin.
Oh, you're right. Okay, Austin and Sally are on the jury. They're voting Terry.
Yep.
I feel like Bruce seems pretty. Like he doesn't really have any negative. He's there for the.
Courtney destroyed his rock garden.
No. I'm saying about Terry.
Oh yeah.
So Bruce is probably a vote for Terry, but Shane also hates Courtney though.
That's what I was going to say. Is Shane is in no world voting for Courtney. It doesn't matter who.
Danielle and Aris, though. I would not want Sari, Danielle, and Aris as my biggest ops. So yeah, but okay. Either way, I think that I think Courtney is. I think we are underestimating how hated Terry was by the majority alliance.
Probably.
But also, Courtney is definitely overestimating her winning ability.
Yeah. Well,
for her to say like she would for sure beat him is just hilarious. Like,
it's wild.
Obviously, that's not true. You're not going to like sweep the jury against it.
We get to the final 6, and this is the other Twyla moment that I was going to bring up, because Twyla just happened 3 seasons ago, and these people tore her apart where she felt like the world's most horrible human being for swearing on her son, even though she spent from final 7 or 8 until the end saying, "I'm so sorry that I did that. I feel bad." She kept saying it, and they just wouldn't let her forget it. Cerise swears on her kids that she is not going to try to pull something on Shane, even after Shane called her a 300-pound whatever. Swears that she's not going to pull anything on Shane, and then does. And it's like, okay, good. I mean, I'm one of these people that's like, I don't give a shit what you say in the game as long as it's not like a slur. I really don't care. You can swear whatever you want. And in my notes I have someone call Sarge, because Sarge was the worst during the Vanuatu finale. But this is where we get I would say, through all of her seasons of Survivor, with the exception of the thing that happens in Micro, which people just give Parvati credit for some reason, Cerie's biggest moment, positive moment in the show's history, of her 3-2-1 flip to get Courtney out, because Courtney is hijacking a spot at the end of the game. And this is a move that, like, we are 12 seasons into this show, and we have never seen anything like this. It would be maybe like the Marquesas flip, or them flipping on Leanne in Vanuatu. We have never seen anything like this. Gia.
Yes.
All time. I don't know if you watched Australia versus the World, but let's say you haven't. Even then, as far as Cirie Field's positive moments in the show's history, where does the 3-2-1 rank for you?
That is my favorite Cirie moment of all time. I think that listen, Cirie has a lot of fantastic moments, and I know most people will say that Micronesia, the immunity necklace, Final 5 Micronesia is her biggest moment, and it is a well-earned biggest moment, obviously. This is huge. I also really like the Aussie blindside in Micronesia. I think those 3 are probably my top 3 of Cirie moments, but 3-2-1 is number 1 for me. I think that it is such an ingenious move to make at this point in the show's history. It's up there with the John Carroll flip, Rob Cesternino taking out the middle person in Amazon, like in terms of like in reinventing the game, reinventing what is possible for the game, it is right up there with those moves. And maybe, I wouldn't say that it's better or worse than either of those moves. I think they're all in the same level of like, this reinvents what is possible in Survivor. The idea that you can engineer what is like who goes home in a way that you don't know is possible. And part of the thing that is so difficult about this is because there are 3 different names being floated around as possibilities here, and you have to make sure that the right people know the right names and that these other names that are going around are not reaching the other people. This is not an easy thing to pull off. Of course, Suri can pull it off because she is smarter than anybody else that has ever played. I couldn't pull this off. Most people in the world cannot pull something off like this. So this is where it really, it's not just that Suri is the smartest person in Survivor Panama. Suri is one of the most intelligent people we have ever had in the show's history. And this is that moment for me that really confirms it. You really need forward thinkers like Suri in Survivor to push what is possible. And this was a simple vote, right? Like, this is not, there is an idol involved, but it's not like Suri playing an idol. There's no shot in the darks.
We're not voting for Terry, so we don't have to worry about an idol.
Yeah. So there's no there's no extra votes here. There's no steal votes advantages. This is like just pure math. And I love this from her. This is my favorite moment of Survivor Panama. This is my favorite moment of Suri's. This was the episode that Chappelle and I recapped for Christine's rewatch of Panama. Maybe, I think it was 2 years ago. So this was an excellent time. So I love this moment. It's my favorite. It's one of my favorites in Survivor history, but definitely my favorite Suri moment as well.
Jake, how about you? The all-time Suri Field positive moments.
Yeah, I think this would probably rank number 2 for me. I mean, the convincing Eric to give up his immunity necklace. I think it's been talked about a trillion times, but I still just insane that she was actually able to convince who. I actually spoke to Eric last night. I was at the same watch party as him. And, the first thing I asked him, I was like, were you rooting for Suri this season? And he said yes, even though she royally screwed me on Fans vs. Favorites. She's a wonderful person, and I was rooting for her. So that was nice. But
to be fair to Eric, if Suri told me to give up immunity and I was said, and you're going home if you do this, I would do it. Because it's Suri, they don't need to gaslight me. I would do it.
Yeah.
I'm just built different, I guess.
I would say that, close, very close second, because, for me, I'm a big numbers guy. This is just masterful, right? I think that, this along with, in Winners at War, Tony pulling the 4 to 3 to 2, on Sophie Clark is just like those types of moves. I just can't help but be in awe of, because you don't even have the majority, but you're still like conjuring a vote in your favor, like out of thin air, which I find just fascinating, just like understanding where everyone's at, where all the votes are going. It's just classic, like, control over the game.
Yeah.
And just
social control, because that people aren't going to rat you out. Yeah, they're not going to rat you out. Mm-hmm. I need you. I think she's sitting there telling Danielle and Aris, like, you guys cannot say anything. And they don't. They don't say a word about it, and they just stick to the plan, and it works. And
stick to the plan.
Sir, yes, sir.
stick to the plan. Yeah, they stick to the plan. The final whatever we're at here, where the family actually comes out and visits. The only real question I have with this is Aris and Terry have their little fight over wife versus mom.
See, this is what I was referring to with Aris. It's like, come on.
Oh, so you're team wife?
Well, okay. So to be fair, I just watched a recap of this season before we're gone. So refresh my memory
just
about exactly what goes on here.
ours is basically saying like they're my mom and Terry's like you never felt this type of love before because when you're older like me you'll understand that there is a difference. It's like
Well,
I think it would still be hard for me to pick
a
between
married man
yeah,
myself.
the married man. Yeah,
I think I can. I think I
You
can
better
win.
say your wife as a married man.
Exactly.
Yes.
So as I was watching this, I'm like, Aris, come on, buddy. Like he's what 24.
He's 24.
He's yeah.
Which honestly, like, it's a little old to be acting like this. Like I think
Well, not back then.
Maybe okay, sure. I think that I personally I was on Terry's side here. Wife over mom in the scenario in the context of what they're talking about, right? Of like, I mean, okay, Aris, if you live with your parents, okay, maybe like I feel like at that age, usually you're a bit more independent, and you still love your parents, of course, you love your mom, but it's different. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
I would be acting the same way if I was in Terry's spot.
Okay.
So I am not married. However, I will say, so I'm pretty sure I do not have like a citation ready on this, but Aris, who is now married, has gone on the record to say, I believe that Terry is right. Like I've heard this in another podcast. I don't have the interview myself, so I can't confirm, but I have a feeling he probably has changed his mind over the years now that he is actually married. However, and I would not, I think that loved one visits are great for stuff like this, where you have these debates about like who deserves it more, or like, oh, this person, like for this one, for example, like, is there a world where people are going to not pick Shane here because it's his child? Like, not just like his adult kid. This is an actual child here that
Right.
that is here. So I think that when we are like the loved ones visits are great for these types of debates of like, oh, well, this person hasn't seen their, family member in so long. Someone brought their friend. Is it us? Is it, am I picking somebody because of the type of loved one they have? They haven't seen their wife or their husband. They haven't seen their siblings or, so there's always I love the like mechanics that go into the loved ones visits when there's a reward challenge tied to it. I think it's just fantastic. And I wish they would do this again because it just has so many fascinating dilemmas attached to it. But I also think that like the idea of, this is who we are in the moment. This is who you are playing with. So I don't know if Terry's not doing any favors by telling the Aris that is in the game with him in this moment that like, hey, like, no, you're mad because you're not spending the day with your mom, but a wife is actually way more important here. Like, that's just not good social game. I'm sorry.
No,
like,
it's not. Yeah.
Like, think about it in concept. I do agree that like, I think that Terry makes a good point here of like, like the concept of like bringing your loved one out, having your wife out there versus a parent. Like I am not married, but I see the point he was trying to make. This is not the point you want to make to try to curry favor with people.
Definitely.
During the loved one's visit. So
yeah.
The argument, maybe Terry has a point. All the circumstances around it, Terry, shut up. This is not what you need to be doing right now.
Well, and I think and it's definitely biased for me because I've been I started watching the show from my mom's hair salon in the year 2000. If I were to get married right now to the biggest Survivor fan that's ever existed, whoever that is, and I get casted for 53 or 54 or whatever, I'm probably still bringing my mom only because I like when I think Survivor, I think her over, and so that's where I think that's where my bias comes from is the fact that
Mhm.
like I grew up with this with my mom, that I
Yeah.
would rather my mom than my wife, who, if you're watching this 10 years later, I love you, whoever you are. I'd probably still bring my mom.
Yeah, and there's all those different circumstances like that go into a loved one. Like, would I bring the person I am closest with out there, or would I bring the person that I think would have the best time because they also are a Survivor fan or something, like, like those are, or like what is
Yeah.
the thing behind it? Like, there's always some different circumstances that you're not thinking about in the moment, and the viewers are not thinking about it because we're not personally affected by this either way, but
Mhm.
still things to consider on there. And again, that's why I love the loved ones visits.
And I think too, like the context of like, ours, this isn't like, he was raised by like a single mom or something and like has that, insane bond. I'm not saying that he doesn't have a good bond with his mom, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But the fact that, he's kind of like I could be wrong. I believe he's, kind of from like a richer family in LA, so I think that might, be adding to it. Anyways, I personally, as I was watching this, I totally agree that like just straight up bad gameplay, like social gameplay
Yeah.
from Terry here. But in principle, like he was right, But like just because you're right doesn't mean that you need to
Yeah.
tell
Yes.
everybody that you're right and tell him that you're right, So
This might not be the time to try to make that point.
yeah.
Especially like loved ones visits can make or break someone's game if you fuck it up that badly. So
Totally.
something, like this may not be the time that you want to make that point.
Joe's hot wife should have really talked some sense into him last night.
Beautiful tall ass wife.
His beautiful tall ass wife.
Hold on, is that a beautiful tall ass wife?
I don't think this is going to go to the 2.5 hours that the Marquesas one went because we only have a few things left on our notes. But like, this is now the second longest that we've done on the recap this time. Gia has been on both of them. Gia has been on both of them.
I have been known to be a yapper.
Hey, I'm the same way. So
and imagine if Christine could have joined us tonight. Like we'd
still be on Casa de Charmin.
Yes. So I asked y'all both this before we went live. Amount of seasons that have had their entire Final Four return, including returnee seasons after the season that aired. Before we actually do deep dives into what the actual answer is, I'm fairly certain I have the actual answer, but we'll see. What answers do you guys have?
Okay.
I believe it's 2.
Okay, so
Borneo and All Stars are the only ones I can think of.
Okay, I'm not looking them up, but I just need a moment.
Okay.
Try to think of any more after.
It's definitely more than 2. I already have 4 written down right now. Hold on.
It's not.
No.
Keith Famey definitely did not return, so it's not Australia.
Imagine the world.
This is wait. You're talking about 4, not finalists.
No, just the final 4 people in the game.
Final 4 people. Okay, wait. Never mind. Let me restart. Hold on. I forgot. I thought it was finalists. Hold on.
If it's that, then it's a lot more, definitely.
Yeah.
All Stars only became true because Jenna Lewis just came back for 50. Rupert was in. He was in Heroes vs. I was going to say Blood vs. Water. He was there for like 2 seconds, but Cagayan, right? Cagayan. No. Yes.
Yeah, Cagayan. Cagayan is one, so we're at 3.
Not San Juan del Sur.
This is actually funny because
was the final. No, it's not Cambodia.
This is
Not one
hilarious.
part.
This is
I'm thinking.
okay. All right.
Let me see.
Wait, why is it hilarious?
You'll see when I tell you the exact
We're
answer.
missing an obvious one or something.
Yes.
No, give me a second. Hold on.
Okay.
What obvious one would it be?
No, it's not that. Wait. No.
Okay.
I thought I had one for a second. Hold on.
Well, Gia, which ones do you have right now?
Cagayan Borneo All Stars, and I just had one off the top of my head, and then I got distracted, so I haven't thought about it.
Jake, what do you have?
Well, Panama too. We're counting
Those three.
We're counting Panama.
Yeah, Panama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now I'm at 4.
So those 4.
And then
4, yeah.
we have you, and we're including Final Fours that return afterwards.
It's 4. It's just 4.
It's just the 4?
It's just the 4. I thought y'all were both forgetting Panama. That's why I was saying
okay.
I didn't. I thought okay. No, I was thinking. I couldn't remember who was 4th in David versus Goliath. So that's where
Kara.
It's Kara. So now it's not. So that doesn't fit it. But that's where I was stuck for a moment. And then I got distracted.
I'm like, why are they not saying Panama? This is crazy. But
I thought you meant including
I thought
that was already included in it.
Okay. Well then, yeah. So there's 4, and I feel like if you were to just sit there and think about it, knowing that Jenna Lewis is on 50, Panama would still be the 4th season out of 4 that you would think, oh yeah, the Final Four all do kind of return in this season, which is. I think all of them do well on their 2nd, 3rd, or 4th or whatever the fuck. But I feel like Panama is, I guess, underappreciated when it comes to that. The fact that Australia has 8 returnees, and Borneo has all of these returnees, and all. Panama is one of 3 seasons that 3 non-returnee seasons where their entire Final Four comes back. I think that's a
company right there.
If 50 didn't cut Sydney, we'd also have Korong.
We'd still have Korong.
And had Shane made it on Second Chance, it'd be the Final 5 all returned too.
Yeah, and I think that would be the only season.
Yeah.
That'd be the only season,
unless they bring back Alphabet Strategy.
We're not bringing back. We're not doing Dr. Sean. We're not playing that game. So we get to the Final Four, and before there's even talk of a tie vote. So before we get to all of that, we have the call Wambulance challenge. Where at this point,
I think about the Wambulance during the challenge, maybe at least once every 6 months. It's just
this is a moment where I'm like, okay, yeah, Aris, you have a point here. You have a point. Terry, you're being fucking annoying as shit. Why are you whining about this? I didn't know that we could go back. It's oh my god, shut up. This is where it's interesting, where it's Terry is obviously he has all of the aspects of a rootable player.
Mm-hmm.
On the bottom, keeps winning despite literally would be voted out, no question, had he lost any of those. And obviously I don't, but yes. And he's an older guy that what is he? He's a pilot, right?
Navy. He's I think a Navy guy. Yeah.
So he's a veteran, more endearing qualities on paper, but then in practice, it's God, he's actually really grating, and this is just prime example of just oh my god, you win every single time, and the one time this is exactly what Ara says of the one time you lose, you figure, oh, it's because the rules weren't explained correctly to me or something. And it's
and so I used to have a really big impulse control problem. So where if I felt like I was being slighted, I would just say the most insane thing to make the other person feel bad. So in this situation where Terry's complaining and Aris is like, I feel, and then Aris goes, oh yeah, and you're going to say something bad about women. It's like, yeah, I would say if I was 24 years old, back in the day, that is the exact type of response that I would have, because it's like, I don't like this man because he's beating me, and also I probably have these internal feelings of he probably doesn't like, whatever.
Yeah. Listen,
so Aris saying that, it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
so, I said earlier in this pod that, not the biggest Aris guy. I think this is kind of, it's definitely a bit of maybe projection, but like, I'm 23, so I probably say a lot of really like sanctimonious things where like I think I know everything, or whatever. That's just the vibe that Aris is giving off here. And I know for a fact, I'm sure he's already commented on this, that like he probably watches this back and is just cringing the entire time of just like, this kid thought he knew everything, and it's just like talking to like this grown ass man. Like, which to be fair, like Terry is in the wrong, like a lot, but I think like just the idea of like this, somebody, I just know like if I were doing it, I would be cringing watching it back. That's the real reason why I'm just like, it just gets on my nerves when I watch it, obviously the Wambulance is hilarious, incredible line, but just the fights that he picks with him are just like, he just thinks he's better than him. And I think it comes off poorly.
Gia, what I want to ask you is, so obviously Aris finally wins here and immunity is what it is. Before we learn that it's going to be Danielle and Terry versus Aris and Cirie, there is a moment that if you're watching it for the first time, you don't think anything of it. But Cirie is talking about how she's never really had to make fire at camp because everyone else makes fire. And she should probably learn how to make fire just because no one else, it's just her and Aris at camp at this point, I believe. And watching it today, it's like, damn. Like, this is foreshadowing for her entire career. Like, this is not even just a Panama thing. This is just, even though she's not losing in fire every time, it's still like, man, like if she could just do this.
The start of something.
It's the start of the Cirie curse. So I guess for you, because this is kind of where we're going to start wrapping up on Cirie. For me, I don't consider her best game, but I consider this her best chance at winning.
I think Micronesia was her best chance at winning, honestly. I think if they didn't, I think she would have won if they didn't do the surprise final two. Honestly, I know there's some debate on that, but I feel pretty confident in saying that I think Cirie would win that one. But I mean, this is a solid game here. I think the circumstances around Panama are so skewed from where from her other games. One, because it's her first time playing, so obviously it's not Cirie, the legendary player that we know her as. But also there's the super idol that that they have to work around. There's the Exile Island of it all. All of these other advantages that come into play in later seasons don't exist at this point in Survivor history. So I think that and I believe this is the first fire-making tiebreaker we've had. So
Palau.
You're right. No, well, Palau for because Jen and Katie had to do it too. I'm thinking of Bobby John versus Bobby John versus Stephanie. Sorry, but So I think that this is not, I think that this is a really strong game for Suri, and maybe I rank it a little higher than most people just because I think what she achieved her first time around is so strong. And a better strategic showing than most players will do at any point, winners included here. Not to say that the winners don't deserve their win. But I think that this is probably this is an amazing introduction to Suri, and it's one of the showings that I hold most dear to my heart about Suri. But I'm just, what a fantastic way to start your legacy here.
Yeah, she and I think yes, there with the exception of Heroes vs. Villains, I think she wins every time she makes it to the end because she makes it to the end game most of the time. So, and I think because for Panama, the reason I put it higher than Micro, the only reason I put it higher than Micro as far as her game is she's playing against cartoon characters. Like she's playing against people that, with the exception of Terry Dietz, which would probably be her hardest chance at winning, with the exception of Terry Dietz, she's playing against people that I'm the strategic person in this situation where there are no strategic people. And if she says Terry Dietz, we still have to worry about the honor, integrity, physical challenge aspect of the game that people cared about, sort of. But yeah, I do agree that this is still in the era of the show where strategic people, they're almost in the same category as the physical people, and that sucks. Jake, what I want to ask you is, because this is something I'd realized as we were talking tonight, the Final Four. You know what's funny about the Final Four? They're all from four different tribes at the beginning of the game.
Yes, that is true.
And I didn't realize that until right now.
Yeah.
I love when that happens.
Yeah, Suri was the last remaining member of that tribe for a long time.
For a very long time.
I think it was the 3 of the first 4 players taken out. I think we're all from...
Ruth Marie goes as the second to last one to go.
Queen.
And I don't want this to turn into a Suri simp fest at the end of this, but it is kind of amazing that the older women didn't get picked off one by one.
Well, see, we mentioned this, right? That after Melinda goes, forgotten member of Kasaya, right? She was there.
She was also a member of Kasaya, yes.
Yeah. But right after Melinda goes, I mean, Suri should be toast. I mean, they were trying to pick between Suri and Melinda on who to take out, and by the time they go to tribal again, 4 different people get votes at that Bobby tribal. None of them were Suri.
Yep. Because
she had already done her work and gotten her alliance straightened out with Aris and Danielle and everyone. She was in no danger at all, even though on paper, she's not good at challenges. This is why on 50 too, it's so incredible that she makes it far on every time, because she's not good at challenges and she's an insane threat where it's why not take her out? Until 50, this is one of the most insane facts about Suri.
She's never been voted out in the majority.
Until 50.
Until
50. Well, not even that, but by a conventional vote. Panama, fire-making challenge. Micronesia, it's the last, but only one person voted out, and it was because it should have been a final 3. It was always planned to be a final 3, but too many people got medically evacuated that they had to do it or whatever. They didn't even really have to do it, but they just got screwed. Heroes vs. Villains, Idol takes her out. Game Changers, Dark Day in History went down.
We don't speak about Game Changers.
We don't speak about it. Exactly. And then 50, finally, a real, legit, just straight up vote happens that takes her out, finally. And I think it just goes to show, like, I mean, I know you said you didn't want this to become a Cerise Simfest, but it's just kind of
That's literally the reason I picked this season.
It's
kind of hard. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, like I said, I thought this was going to be the day after Cerise wins a game. So, like, I guess I secretly wanted it to be.
We were all hoping for a Cerise Simfest.
Of course, we all were. I mean, but and again, it's hard not to make this about her, given, you know, coming off 50 and just how well she played and her winning the fan favorite award and everything. And so, yeah, I mean, the fact that, yeah, she was the last member of that older women's tribe and she made it all the way to 4, made herself, you know, the center of the Kasaya insanity fest, you know, center of that alliance. It's incredibly impressive.
Yes, Gabe, she got voted up 4-2, which sucks, and I'm over it.
Tiffany, we love you for not going with all of them.
And Tiffany was so pissed in that. It was amazing. Okay, so we're slowly getting there to the end. Danielle makes a deal with Terry, whatever, and Danielle wins final immunity and cuts Terry, even though Terry's like, hey, like I would have stuck to my word, you didn't stick to your word. Terry goes, sayonara. We have a final 2 of Danielle and Aris. Aris almost kills himself while drunk on mimosas, and so we
very Kasaya of him.
Very Kasaya of him. And we go into this final, and I brought this up, Gia, before you got here, before we start recording, because we are still in an era, and I think because 50 is so fresh in my head, the 50 final tribal is so fresh in my head, of honor integrity. Mm. Honor integrity is a thing that almost every finalist through 13 seasons has said at some point or another during final tribal. Mm-hmm. And they always cut to the jury and they're like, oh, honesty, integrity, whatever. You lied to me about your shoe being untied when it was actually tied. And it's like, okay, dude, relax. When modern day fans say, I miss the old days where it was all about this, that, and the other, it's like, then you would hate this time period, because this is actually a time where, whether people were actually being honest, and it was still something that people felt like they were doing. They felt like they were playing the honesty, integrity game. And ours brings it up multiple times during final tribal of, oh yeah, I was honest, I had a lot of integrity in this, that, and the other. Ethan says it in his season. Mm-hmm. Crazy Matt says it in Amazon. Like it's a phrase that doesn't really go away, I would say, until Samoa, where we finally don't have anyone saying honesty, integrity. I can't wait if we get proven wrong with that in a couple of days. Gia, for you, how thoughts on the modern day fandom's, I guess, warped reality of what old Survivor actually is? Because old Survivor is not what these people say it is.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I am not anti-new era the way that a lot of people are. I think there are a lot of good things about the new era that I prefer, not the amount of advantages and twists we get. I think that when a lot of people are saying they miss the old era, they're thinking more of the simpler times where we didn't have to have a advantage tracker to figure out who had what at this point in the game. But I think that I think for Kasaya, for this tribe in particular, it makes sense for someone like Aris to say how he played with this honor and integrity, stuck with his majority alliance, because that was part of the appeal of Kasaya's. Like, no matter how dysfunctional they got, no matter how much they threatened to turn on each other, they really never did, outside of when they had to because of this super idol, or because there were other factors at play. So I don't think that it is necessarily, like, there is merit to playing with sticking with your majority alliance here, sticking with your tribe, if you know that those are the people that you are playing with. But you need to have something that sets you apart from the person or people that you are sitting next to. And I think that's what people don't really understand. For some people, and I mentioned this earlier, like once we got to the merge and Terry's trying to make this like flip happen onto the majority, that's not really a winnable path for those people. And I would argue it's probably not a winnable path in today's vote, because again, you are sending all the people you screwed over to the jury. And I don't necessarily, so I think that there are still lingerings of old school values that we have throughout all of Survivor, which I love. There's also things that have evolved over time, and we value strategy a lot more than we used to. We value, actually, I would say we've always valued strategy, but we value certain aspects of the game more than camp life, challenges, all the stuff that was really the emphasis in the older seasons. So I would say that it's a mix. And I think that people don't really realize, like, even though we kind of divide up Survivor into eras, it's a lot more fluid. It's a lot more fluid than what people would really assume that it is. So I love Panama. I actually tried to make like a list of my top 10 seasons, and I think Panama is in there, so like towards the bottom half, or at least it's definitely in the teens, at least, if not number 10. So there are things that I really like about old school Survivor. There's things I really like about Panama in particular. But at the end of the day, I think it's the cast that makes or breaks the season. Like, Panama's not as entertaining if it's not for Kasaya. And it's because Kasaya is so entertaining that everything that happens in Panama is like a movie, you know? And it's really like a, boring tribe versus chaotic tribe. There's just so many really great elements to it. And I think that's really the big thing moving forward in Survivor history that people really need to think about, is like, it is the cast at the end of the day that will make or break a season, no matter how many twists you do or do not have.
Jake, for you, where is Panama?
Yeah, Panama, I don't know about top 10, and I have not made a ranking in so long. That's actually something I should probably do. But, having just rewatched it, I mean, it's just so good. I dream about, like, tell me right now that Survivor 51 has like a Kasaya level, like, comedy, or like Kasaya level a lot, like, dysfunction. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, I'm ready for this. Like, I am excited. This is where, and it kind of, like, I feel like Mario Lanza, someone you've mentioned a couple times here, has, kind of influenced me in that way to kind of appreciate not just the strategy, or not just the, microcosm of society or whatever, which is obviously a very fascinating part of the game as well, but just the sheer, like, just hilarious moments that can come out of, like, putting a bunch of people in this game that hate each other's guts. And they're forced to work with each other. They all know that the best course of action is just to suck it up and work with each other, but then they still can't help but scream at each other any chance they get. But I would also say Panama has some things working against it. Of course, the Lamina tribe is not very good. No shade to any of those players, but it's just a bunch of straight men all on the same tribe, right? They don't have anyone, to, like, cause a ruckus or anything. Like, I can't tell you one scene from that pre-merge portion of the game with Lamina. I just can't. I don't think you could if you tried. You just watched it.
I just watched it today. I couldn't tell you anything.
Right? So it does make those pre-merge episodes just not quite there. I think that there are some seasons out there that are just like consistently mid the entire time, right? Panama is the complete opposite. It's like has high, low, literally based on which tribe is being shown on the screen. Like I just don't think any other season has this insane discrepancy, like this. Like unless you just skip through the Lamina scenes, then yeah, you're gonna have to sit through some kind of boring segments. So it's gonna get knocked for that, Whereas a season like Cagayan or something, like every tribe is giving something, on that season. So, and it also has, at the merge, there's a Pagong, right? I mean, a sort of pseudo Pagong because of Terry. So it makes those predictable votes, and a predictable vote is not always a bad thing, but it's something that might not be for everyone. So again, a little bit of a knock, but I literally just cannot help coming out of watching this season thinking this is pretty close to it has so many moments that are just peak Survivor, just straight up. So I would say it probably, just off the top of my head, rough estimate, I'd say it's probably around 15 for me out of 50. That seems fair.
Like I said, this was 19 out of 50 the last time 19 out of 46 the last time I did this. It'd probably fall around the same place here. All right, final question. We are finally here. Jake, you have the momentum here. Something that the modern day fandom would not like about Survivor Panama.
The predictability of the early merge. No one likes I think that we have not really gotten a pagonging, really. That doesn't really exist anymore.
Pagongings have only happened 3 or 4 times. They happened in Borneo, Thailand, Redemption Island, and maybe one everything else is quasi pagongings.
Right. So South Pacific, I think as well.
If you don't include Ozzy coming back and the fucking
so I would say that basically what I just said, right? The Lamina of it all, and the kind of predictability of they just for 3-4 straight episodes, they just pick off one by one the Lamina folks, which doesn't make for very captivating tribal councils. But luckily, the characters are still, doing their thing and just being insane. So,
Gia?
I feel like the appeal that Terry has in old school Survivor would not really translate well in the modern era of the show. I'm sure I said at the beginning of this episode, it's very much like Facebookers versus Twitter people. I feel like Terry very much would still have his fans. I don't think he would have been he wouldn't have been held as in high of regard as he did the time, if the season was airing in today.
I agree with both of you. For me, it would be the fans would hate the honesty, integrity narrative that both Terry preaches and Aris preaches at the end of the game. Outside of that, I think that fans would probably get along with it pretty well. Gabe, obligatory, who would be your ally of the season besides Sari? If I'm thinking as a single male in his mid 30s, I'd say Sally or Danielle. If I can't pick Sari, I'm picking Sally or Danielle.
I think it'd be Shane for me. I think I think I would know how to rile him up against Courtney and everyone. I would know how to, if he's thinking about doing something else, I'd be like, well, what about this? I'm just get him go, oh yeah, you're right. So I think it would be a high risk, high reward type situation with Shane, where it's if I can take him to the end, kind of what he was thinking of doing with Courtney, right? of like, if I can get this guy to the end, I think I can beat him, just because he was rubbing people really the wrong way, so that'd be my choice.
My apartment's not shitty. Gia?
I would want Aris as an ally. I think, he's a solid competitor. So, if you want someone that can kind of hold their own, especially to be perfectly honest, I don't think I would be good at challenges in Survivor. So I'd like an ally that would be. But he also, he's a pretty steady ally to have. He's someone you can bounce ideas off of. And he was very loyal to Suri throughout his time in the game. So he strikes me as someone that when he says he's with you, he's with you. And I think that when you're looking for an ally, Aris would be a perfect candidate for that.
Yeah, I'm
pretty high on an Aris win. I actually really like if it couldn't be Suri, I'm pretty happy with the Aris win. As Aris as a winner. So, he falls in my unexpected winners category with a few other divas. So I'm a fan of Aris. Okay.
Well, that is going to wrap up this 2.5 or almost 2.5. We did 2:35 for Mark Cases. We only did 2:10 here tonight.
I can keep going if you want.
No, we're good. I'm gonna start Cook Islands tonight. But
yes,
Race Wars Part.
That was my very first season that I ever watched.
What a way to be introduced to Survivor's Twist.
Well, what's funny is I think we all know Peridium. He has a video from a couple of years ago, I think even before the new era, of top 5 starter seasons to get your people into Survivor, and I think he put Cook Islands on there. I remember being pretty surprised about that.
Yeah, the Cook Islands is not a season that I would say, hey, watch this first.
Yeah,
just no. But yeah, so I'm going to start Cook Islands tonight. Jake and I and V will be back Monday to do the season 50 finale review. Gia, what do you have going on Inside Survivor?
So Christine Palin and I, who also wanted me to mention that Danielle calls the immunity idol the immunity item multiple times throughout the show, which is always very funny. So thank you, Christine, for that reminder about that tidbit in there. Also, look at the Bitter Jurors TikTok. It is a fantastic place to be in the Survivor world. So Christine and I are doing our weekly roundup for the finale of 50 on Inside Survivor. And then I have the summer off, so I don't have any particular plans. However, I do plan on working on some things for Bet on Black, which is my Substack, and have a few other projects in the works that I'll be able to work on now that I finally have some free time. So keep an eye out on that.
Perfect. Gia, thank you so much. I know we couldn't do Fiji this time. It's the only time you haven't been able to.
But you know what? I feel like I got it all out the last time we were there. We talked about Fiji the last time you did this. So, there's no regrets in there.
And thank you again. I hope to have you back during the last day of this while I live stream. And you've just been great for the years that I've known you. So thank you so much for everything you've done for me. Jake, you've been a great co-host through this section of my radio/podcasting career. And I'm looking forward to whatever happens next. Thank you to everyone in the chat, everyone that's been messaging me on all the social medias. It's been an amazing time. Make sure to subscribe and all that jazz. And I will be back tomorrow night for Survivor Race Wars 1, Cook Islands. Until then, I'll see you all soon.